Welcome back. The Mae Sot Chronicles continue. It's a Thursday here in Mae Sot, and my plan for this morning is to run some small errands necessary for my own life, drop by another coffee shop here in town, and hopefully investigate a small mystery connected with a sign. You might have seen this sign in my last video. One person with sharp eyes commented on it. I'll show it to you in just a second. Here's the sign right behind me, and I think you know what I'm talking about. Pawn shop. I've never seen an official looking government sign advertising a pawn shop before. The sign above it is for the Mae Sot Municipal Office. This kind of blue sign makes sense for that. But why is there a city sign like this for a pawn shop? So this is the mystery sign that I was talking about. And this pawn shop is just a block away from my guest house. So after I get my coffee and run my errands, today I'm finally going to drop by the pawn shop and just take a look at the place. I have a range of thoughts on my mind this morning. Quite a few of them, of course, are still connected with technology, and that's just because I've been changing so much in terms of how I shoot video and trying different things and testing different things with some success, maybe limited success. But today I'm back with a GoPro, and I have to say it is such a relief after several days of using the Panasonic, because the GoPro is just such a nice balance between everything. It's just so small, it's so light, it's sort of like using it again is like welcoming back an old friend. I don't have to think about it, I don't have to worry about it. Nice wide field of view, should be good stabilization as I walk along. My arm isn't getting tired. I'm not freaking people out by carrying around this huge camera. They see this little GoPro, nobody worries about it. I don't make people nervous. Yeah, it's just so many advantages to a GoPro. Errand number one complete. I stopped by the ATM, and the ATM loves me today and gave me money. That always makes me happy. I still do that thing where after I enter all of my details, I hold on to the machine and I sort of have my eyes closed and I've got my fingers crossed, and if the machine starts to shake and vibrate, I know it's been successful and it's counting out some money for me. If I don't get that vibration, I know that there was an error. And my ATM life has been pretty good lately, to be honest. I haven't had a lot of problems, but I'm like a Pavlov's dog at this point. I have had so many problems in my life with banks and ATMs that now I'm trained to get terrified every time I try to do anything, whether with an ATM or online banking or even going into a bank. My heart starts pounding. I'm just so worried something will go wrong, and it usually does. But today, the ATM shook and vibrated like a happy puppy and then gave me some money. So I'm free to find a coffee shop. And I think I'm going to do something a bit different as far as a coffee shop is concerned, because I want to sit down for a little while inside where it's air conditioned and comfortable and quiet. Just because I have a few things to do on my phone, little video projects I'm working on, and I want to sit there for a while. And the small coffee shops I'm thinking about that I like, you generally end up sitting outside, kind of in the open air, and it gets pretty hot after a while, kind of sweaty. So I think I'm going to go to a place called Today Coffee. And I think Today Coffee is kind of a chain here in Thailand, maybe in Southeast Asia. I'm not sure where it originates, but I've only looked through the window of Today Coffee from time to time, and I've never actually gone inside. It's kind of new. I think it opened up, within this pandemic era anyway. Within the last 4 or 5 months, I think it opened. And I've often thought I should go in and check it out. But today, first time I'm going to go check out Today Coffee. Busy intersection here, so it's a good spot for a coffee shop. A lot of foot traffic, a lot of vehicle traffic. Got to dash across. And here's the sign on the outside. Coffee today. And as I said, yeah, I've never been inside, so I don't even know what it looks like. Whoa, check this out. That is a nice surprise. Very air conditioned. Those seats jump out at me right away. And look at that on the other side. Kind of a booth seating. Look at that. You get your own little roofed cottage or porch. I really like that. Though it looks like the benches are far away from the table, so you can't really, if you're leaning against the back, you're far away from the table, so it may not be the best place. You couldn't sit there and work on a laptop or something. But if you're here with a group of 4 or 5 people, yeah, those would be quite nice. And there's the service area. And then here, they have some high little counters with some stools. I like that a lot. And then in the big area in the back too. These circular seating areas are really nice, especially if a restaurant or a coffee shop is crowded. They can still seat, 4 or 5 people around this circle. And you can sit with strangers without feeling like you're annoying them. Like it's meant for a whole bunch of people that don't know each other. They can still sit together. Because, of course, one person was sitting by themselves at this table. You wouldn't, and the other chair was empty. You couldn't really just sit down with them because they'd ask you, what in the world do you think you're doing? I don't know you. But these round communal tables are nice for that situation. And then over here, yeah, corner sofa with some more tables. And there's something going on over here. What is this? Oh, a meeting room. Look at that. Private, quiet, its own air conditioner. And yeah, they have a meeting room usage details. 200 baht for the first hour and 100 baht for every hour after that. And you get free ice beverage and then drinks for 45 to 50 baht. That is very cool. These days with more and more people working at home and companies not having office space, this can be quite handy for small companies, for staff meetings. And there's a wide shot of the whole interior. And this morning, I think I'm going to go for a hot cappuccino. Since I'm inside air conditioning, I think I can get away with that. And the menu looks to be fairly standard. All your coffees, teas, and then smoothies down there at the end. Given all of my choices here, I may not have picked the most glamorous of seats. As I always do, I kind of scuttle the way into the corner where it's the quietest and I'm the farthest away from other people. Because I just noticed there was a commercial radio station playing up by the counter. And I can't have that music on this video. But even if the view behind me of this blank wall is not the most exciting, the view I'm getting is quite nice. So there's the view from where I'm sitting. And I ordered a hot cappuccino and it's being prepared right around the corner. And I noticed they have a food menu as well, which is right here. So you can get spaghetti with spicy mixed seafood for 80 baht, spaghetti with pepper garlic corn, spaghetti with tomato sauce, a bunch of fried rice, macaroni, more fried rice, and then they have a special menu. Oh, okay. Buttered milk toast, kind of a breakfast thing. Nutella, banana toast, jam toast, fruit toast, waffles, and chocolate lava. I imagine this is only certain times of the day. I don't know. Seems like kind of breakfast dishes. Time to put these back where I found them. Man, talking about cameras, love the GoPro. Everything that I've just done since I walked in this place, filming different things, filming myself at the table, now clamping it in place to film me standing here. I mean, I could do that with the Panasonic, for example, but I swear, had I done all that with the Panasonic, I would have been pulling my hair out by now, because the darn thing, it won't focus. I can't get the exposure right. It's, not stabilized nearly as well as the GoPro, though I may have caused that problem myself. I'm trying to fix the stabilization on the Panasonic. But anyway, I love my sweet GoPro setup. I really do. It is weird though, because just using the Panasonic and my Samsung Note 10 Plus for a few days, I got used to that narrower field of view, and it feels more natural to me. And now I just reviewed this little clip that I shot on the GoPro, and it is so wide. It's pulling in so much, and then of course everything is a little bit distorted because it's so wide, and that's on the linear setting on the GoPro. That's the narrowest it can go, and that is like super wide, and now to me it looks really unnatural. I got used to it before, but now it strikes me as really weird, and I kind of miss that narrower field of view, the more natural perspective you get with a normal camera. So what can you do? You just what do they say, use the camera you have with you, and today I have the GoPro with me. And my cappuccino has arrived. I ordered a large hot cappuccino. It's 55 baht. What's that, $1.50 US, maybe, something like that. Yeah, nice presentation. Came with a hot cup of light tea, some sugar, and there you go. I'm going to settle in and enjoy this, and I have a massive industrial air conditioner blowing right down on me. And trust me, you need that in Mae Sot right now. Most of yesterday, I was just in my room at the guest house. I was doing some things there. I don't think I went outside at all, and I spent the whole day inside my air-conditioned room, and I got accustomed to that. So this morning when I stepped outside, the heat hit me like a tidal wave. Yeah, you forget just how hot it is outside when you spend your life in air-conditioned glory like this. How's that perspective? It's funny, I have the GoPro sitting over there, and it is so wide, it looks like the camera is filming something over there. And I know that I'm in the corner of the frame, but from here it looks like I'm not in the frame at all. Such a different framing from a regular camera. All right, let's try this. I'm very excited. Flavor's good, but it suffers from the one critical weakness of a cappuccino or a cafe latte. It's not hot. I mean, by the time they finish steaming the milk and doing the fancy designs on the top, sometimes what they end up serving you is lukewarm. So that's, to me, that is such a big negative. If a coffee shop consistently does that, I either have to talk to them and say, can you make it really, really hot? Or I just won't come back. I'll find a place that consistently serves a hot cup of coffee. That's, it's probably even more important to me than the taste, to be honest. Yeah, for me, a coffee is something to be enjoyed, extended out over a long period of time, boiling hot at the beginning and then gradually getting cooler. I like it to be hot even when I get to the dregs. So something like this, I can put a straw in there and drink it. I might as well have ordered an iced coffee, to be honest. Oh well, that's kind of disappointing. Yeah, even the tea is just kind of lukewarm. I wanted to burn my lips. I want to feel alive when I drink my tea. Something I've thought about quite often is how companies like this get feedback. Like, can you imagine opening your own coffee shop, your own little restaurant, and then you never get any customers and the business fails, and then you wonder what the heck just happened? Like, you don't know. But maybe every customer that comes in finds something they don't like, and then they never come back. And if they don't tell you, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know why your cafe was unpopular. So I think if I ran a business, I'd at least try to have a mechanism in place where the staff can get feedback. You don't want to hassle customers to death, but maybe, it's like, how is it? Like, just tell me honestly, what did you think of the coffee? And then if someone came up to ask me, I would tell them it's not hot enough, but I'm probably not going to tell them. They'll never know, and who knows whether I'll come back here or not. I'll probably come back at least once more, I'll give them a second chance, and I'm sure an iced coffee would be just fine. But I love the atmosphere, I love the seating. This is like one of the most comfortable chairs I've been in for a long time. I can sit here for a long time. Since I'm on the topic, I thought I would continue with more of a breakdown of my ongoing GoPro experience, because I've been fine-tuning the system for a long time, and I'm pretty happy with what I've got going on right now. For one thing, I found this new curved mount on the internet. It's actually designed for putting your GoPro on a helmet. You can see how it's curved, and what that does for me is when I'm holding the GoPro like this, as a vlogging camera, it just gives this nice arch, and it's just a very convenient way to position the GoPro. I bought it originally because this helps me mount it on my scooter, because if I put this clamp on the scooter's handlebar, this curve goes around the mirror and then brings the camera forward, and then I can tie this off to the mirror to hold it steady. And I couldn't do that with a straight bar. So I really like this curved mount that I found. On top of that, I found this Ulanzi ball head. I don't know if you can see the name there where it says Ulanzi. So it's basically a tripod ball head, which gives me tons of advantages. For one thing, it has a little mount on the side where I can put my Rode Wireless Go receiver. It clips right into place on the tripod itself. Normally you would clip it on top of the camera, but it's not a very secure location. This place is perfectly secure, locks into place, and it's a much better place to put your microphone. And of course, the advantage to using a ball head is that it is so easy just to loosen it, and then you can spin the GoPro around, in any direction you want. So easy to do. Tighten it down. Now I want the GoPro facing me, just loosen it off, turn it around. Now it's facing me. I want it going in the other direction, spin it around. So, and of course it can go straight down. I could aim it right down at the table. If I have something down here I want to film, point it upwards. It's very versatile. So I love having this ball head. And the key thing about this tripod ball head is that it was designed for this. It was designed for a very small, lightweight camera. Tripods usually have much bigger, heavier ball heads, but this one is very small and very lightweight, and I just love it to death. The other key things about my rig, of course, is that I'm using the Ulanzi cage. And this Ulanzi cage is special because it has a little slot right here, and that is where you put the GoPro mic adapter. it goes into this compartment down at the bottom. And if you don't have that compartment, it's really hard to figure out what to do with that mic adapter. And you have to have it for a GoPro in order to plug in a microphone. So this is a very handy little cage. And of course, the key element to my design here, and the one that I'm most happy with, is the way that I've adapted the GoPro Jaws Flex clamp. I love this thing for what should be obvious reasons. You can use your GoPro as a vlogging camera just by holding it here. You know, it's sort of like a pistol grip. It's really, really comfortable. And I can hold it right here and talk into the GoPro quite naturally. It's very easy to hold here. And in a way, it works almost like a steady cam in Hollywood, because you know how steady cams have a weight at the bottom to balance it, and that's the way this works. So when I hold it here, I've got the camera up top, this at the bottom, and I just naturally hold the camera at the right angle, and it stays very steady because it's balanced, almost like it has a counterweight on the bottom. So that's very handy. And of course, you've got the jaws. So now when I sit down at this table, I just clamp it onto the table, take it off the table. Now I'm vlogging. Now I have a normal camera setup. I thought it was falling over right there, but no, it's perfectly secure. And finally, I stumbled across this unique situation because quite often the table, it might be too thick. The jaws don't open wide enough to get a grip on the table, so I can't use the jaws. And in those situations, I use this tiny little tripod. It took me a long time to stumble across this solution, but because of the flexibility of the jaws, I can take this, clamp it to these tripod legs, and now I've got a tripod. So this unit, it's a real Frankenstein assembly, bits and pieces of everything that were never meant to fit together at all. No one who designed any of these things ever meant them to be combined. But over time, this is just a system that I've developed, and I just love it. Yeah. Look at that thing. Not like the craziest thing you've ever seen, but like I said, tripod, clamp, vlogging, you know, it can do, it basically can do it all. So, end of my GoPro segment for today. And in case you're curious, that last bit of video, my demonstration of the GoPro, I shot that with my Galaxy Note 10 Plus, but the audio is still coming from the Rode Wireless Go, which I have plugged into the GoPro. So in fact, I had both the phone and the GoPro recording video at the same time, but I'm only going to use audio from the GoPro and then the video from the phone. More of my Frankenstein life, I guess. That's just what works for me, I guess. One other thing is, why do I say tiny little? I've noticed that I say tiny little all the time. You know, if something is small, you know, look at my tiny little packet of sugar. It's like the dumbest thing anyone could ever say. Tiny means very small. Little just means small. Tiny little doesn't mean anything. It's like, but I've been trying to break myself of the habit, but I can't do it. I keep saying tiny little unconsciously. But if I ever say it again, point it out to me and tell me to quit being such a dummy. Tiny little. And I'm supposed to be some kind of an English editor, English teacher once upon a time. No English teacher should ever say tiny little. And now that we're on the topic of English, can we all stop saying spoiler alert? To quote The Princess Bride, I don't think that means what you think it means. A spoiler alert is supposed to give you time to stop listening because you don't want the movie or the TV show spoiled. But everyone uses it today the millisecond before they say something. Like, spoiler alert, she dies. You know, spoiler alert, they get arrested. It's like saying spoiler alert and then immediately following it with the thing that spoils the movie does not make it a spoiler alert. It's just a spoiler. Spoiler, she dies. Spoiler alert, then you give people a chance to stop watching your video, and then you spoil the movie. So, spoiler alert. Yeah, we humans are getting dumber every day, and it's all thanks to the internet, I think. And now, just because I can, and just for variety, I have my GoPro mounted far away from me on the circular table near that fake tree. So, which makes me think of another big advantage to the GoPro, and some cameras have this feature, some don't. And if a big camera company ever announces their latest vlogging camera and they don't have this feature, let them know about it. Get angry with them, because if they don't have this feature, it is not a vlogging camera. And don't tell me that it is. And that feature is what they call a tally light. From here, I can see that the GoPro is recording because it has a tiny little red light flashing on the front of the GoPro. And that simple tally light, that flashing red light, is so useful. More useful than 8K, which nobody uses. More useful than 1,000,000 frames a second slow motion, which nobody uses. So quit getting your design departments and your engineering technicians to make these incredible fancy features. Just give me simple, basic, functional features. The next time Sony or Nikon or Canon announces the latest and greatest vlogging camera, put a tally light on it. That's what we need out here in the real world. But I set up this camera, and I've kept talking about cameras because a friend of mine just bought a really interesting device, and one that interests me quite a bit. This is a friend of mine from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. He has a YouTube channel called Wander Eats, and just this morning he posted his first video using this new device, and I was really impressed with it. What is this new device, you ask? It is the DJI Pocket 2. And this is a very unique camera because it's small and lightweight, similar to an action camera, but it has its own gimbal built into it. So it offers the smoothest video possible, which of course you only get from a gimbal. And this camera has a gimbal built into it. And this gives them a lot of advantages because the stabilization in a GoPro is digital stabilization. And the way they do that is by shooting a really, really wide, screen. What the GoPro is recording is actually much wider than what you're seeing here. And then they use digital technology to stabilize the footage, and they crop way in on the image. So in fact, even though the sensor in the GoPro is very small, they're only using an even smaller portion of the sensor they have because they have to crop in so far to get the stabilization. With a DJI Pocket, the Pocket 2, the sensor, I believe, is actually twice as big as the one in the GoPro, and they can use nearly all of the sensor because they're not using digital stabilization. They're using a physical gimbal. The battery died on the GoPro, so I took advantage of that to move it closer for a different view, just to keep that variety and perspective going. I don't have two cameras running at the same time today, so I have to move the camera around to keep it exciting. I was just saying that the DJI Pocket 2, using its gimbal, can use the whole surface area of the sensor because they don't have to use digital stabilization to crop in. Even on my Panasonic, I have several levels of stabilization. You've got the physical stabilization where they move the sensor to keep it stabilized. But on top of that, you can add another layer of digital stabilization, which helps a lot, but then it crops in on the picture and the field of view gets even narrower. You know, the more stabilization you add, the tighter they have to crop. But the DJI Pocket can sidestep that whole issue because it's physically stabilized. So it's a very interesting camera, and I was quite impressed with what Wander Eats did with his first video test. And they've added a whole bunch of like YouTube vlogger friendly features. You can buy what's called the Creators Kit, I think. And if you get the Creators Kit, you get all kinds of little goodies. In particular, you get a handle, an extension handle that attaches to the main camera, and I believe that gives you a 3.5 millimeter microphone jack, gives you an extended battery, I believe, and this Creators Kit comes with a wireless microphone, very similar to the Rode Wireless Go that I'm using, where you have a receiver built into the DJI Pocket, and then you have a transmitter like I have here for the Rode Wireless Go that comes with the DJI Pocket too. It has its own wireless microphone setup that you get with the Creators Kit. So it's a very compelling device. And I was watching a review the other day from a very good reviewer, a very professional guy, and he was saying that the image quality of the video from the Pocket 2 was miles ahead of what you get with a GoPro. And that's because it uses that much larger sensor. It's much more like a real camera, and you can even switch into a manual mode and get a much larger aperture, which blurs the background, and you get subject background separation. You can do all these things with the DJI Pocket that you can't do with a GoPro, which essentially has infinite focus, which is an advantage in a way because I don't have to worry about focus. Everything is in focus all the time, but visually that might not be as interesting if you can have me in focus and the background kind of a little bit blurry, that gives you that cinematic look. And you can accomplish that with the DJI Pocket 2, and there's no real way to do that naturally, with the GoPro. For me personally, the DJI Pocket 2 would be nice to have, but I don't have $500, burning a hole in my pocket that I want to rush out and buy one of these things. I'd buy a lot of other things before I bought a DJI Pocket. And that's because, as handy as it would be for walking around, holding it and vlogging, you wouldn't want to mount it on the handlebars of your scooter. I think the gimbal mechanism is much more delicate than anything on a GoPro, so I think it's much more prone to breaking if you're traveling around with it, throwing it in a backpack. You've got to treat it very carefully. With the GoPro, of course, it's such a hardy, tough little camera that it doesn't matter, fully waterproof. You can drop it, bounce it around, have it vibrating on a scooter for 5 hours straight, and it's not going to hurt the camera. But you wouldn't do that with your DJI Pocket 2. So as intriguing as it is, it has its limitations depending on what you want to use your camera for. But it's a very interesting one. I remember the original Osmo Pocket. I think that's what it was called, the first generation. I think it was like the DJI Osmo Pocket. Was that the full name? It didn't impress me because the field of view was really quite narrow. I think it was 26 millimeters. And if you're vlogging with that, it was like really tight on your face. But the new version, the Pocket 2, has a 20 millimeter lens and more than wide enough for any kind of vlogging you might want to do. So yeah, it's an interesting camera. I've had my eye on this chair ever since I came into Today Coffee. And there was a woman sitting here earlier, and she's left. So I thought I'd order another cappuccino and then try out this chair. Very comfortable. Actually, the other chair is probably more comfortable than this one, but this is nice. You know, you get to be able to lounge back a little bit more. And when I ordered this second cappuccino, I made a point of asking them in English, but I think they understood that I wanted it to be as hot as they could make it. You know, make it really hot, and let's see if they could do it. Not bad. It's definitely hot enough. And I think for most people, it would be okay. But I really want that burning my lips sensation from the first sip, you know, because I can already feel it cooling down, you know. But it's okay. I think if I come back here again, I would go for an iced coffee, though. The hot coffee is kind of warm to me, not really hot. Then again, I like things to be the temperature of the sun if I can get my way. I don't talk very much about current events, in things that are in the news, but I came across something this morning that I found quite interesting, and it ties in directly with my life and the life of anyone who, you know, travels from country to country or wants to. And that is, in Thailand, they just officially announced a new law, a new policy regarding vaccination passports. And they have this really interesting system in Thailand where if the government makes an announcement about something, it isn't automatically law yet. But if they publish it in the Royal Gazette, then it is law. And to my surprise, since I've been hearing about vaccination passports quite a bit, I usually kind of dismiss it as something in the future, something a country might do or is thinking about. But here in Thailand, this vaccination passport idea has been published in the Royal Gazette. And I'm no expert in Thailand policy or government, but to me that says it is now a law. And it may take them a while to get the system up and running, but it is now a law here in Thailand that people can use a vaccination passport. The topic is a bit interesting to me because I've noticed that a lot of people freak out as soon as they hear about a vaccination passport. A lot of people think it's a terrible idea, and it's more like it's government overreach and too many restrictions and a lot of discussion along those lines. But for me and for a lot of people I know, it's not such a crazy idea because I've had a kind of vaccination passport my entire life. And in fact, I brought mine with me as kind of a show and tell. And this is my current one right now. And you wouldn't really call it a passport, though, and I guess that's the difference. I got this one in Taiwan when I updated all of my vaccinations, and it's basically called an immunization record. And I think it's produced in conjunction with the CDC, and in this little booklet there are pages where you keep track of your vaccinations, like that, for example. And here's another page. These are vaccinations for polio, and it comes with, you know, the name of the vaccine, the date it was administered, and then the signature of the doctor that administered it as the official. And there's another one here. I think this is the Tdap. What does that stand for? Typhus, diphtheria. There's like a whole bunch of diseases all rolled into one vaccine. And at that time I was doing some cycling, and I thought rabies, like if a dog bites you and has rabies, that was something of a concern. So I got a rabies vaccine before I left Taiwan. And then there's a record of all the, you know, rabies vaccines that I got, the initial one, then the booster, etc. I also got booster shots for Japanese encephalitis. Yeah, a whole bunch of them. And so this idea of a vaccination passport is not so strange to me, because I've always been keeping a record of my vaccine. It just makes sense to do so, because if you go to a travel clinic or to your doctor and they want to know, well, when was your last hepatitis vaccine? How long ago was it? And I hand over this book and they can see, when did I get my last booster? What dosage was it? How long will it last? And when do I need another booster? So to me, it's just logical. Plus, certain vaccines have actually been required. So for example, parts of Africa, you must get a yellow fever vaccine, and the record for yellow fever vaccinations tends to come in a yellow booklet or a yellow certificate. And to enter quite a few countries in the world, you have to show at immigration, at the airport, proof that you have a yellow fever vaccine. If you don't, they won't let you into the country. And the reverse can be true. If you're flying out of a country that is known to have yellow fever, and then you fly to a country in Europe or somewhere where yellow fever is not prevalent, they know you came from a country with yellow fever, and they want to see that you are vaccinated against yellow fever before they will let you in. So this idea of being asked to show proof of a vaccination is not an unusual idea. I mean, look at this. I've got I've got 3 of them underway right now, and I carry these with me everywhere I go, along with my normal passport with, tourist visas in it. And this is my passport for vaccinations. But as I said, here in Thailand, the vaccination passport has gone into law. And I noticed that a lot of media jumped all over this story, kind of from a dramatic point of view. And I guess that's again a feature of the internet, that people rush to report a story as fast as possible. And this is often before all the details are clear. So for example, there has been a lot of focus on this idea that this vaccination booklet in Thailand has to be signed by an official. And everyone is reporting that there are only 6 accredited officials in Thailand who have the power to sign one of these passports. So everybody is going crazy thinking only 6 officials. So what's going to happen? How can they possibly sign all the passports for everyone in a country of 70 million people, or however many people there are in Thailand? But of course, once the system gets up and running, there's going to be more than 6 officials that will be able to sign these passports. So I assume that particular bottleneck will go away over time. Nice. It's still hot enough to enjoy. So that is it for my coffee experience this morning. That's coffee today right behind me. Yeah, quite a surprise, that place, to be honest. I popped into the bathroom just before I left, and I swear that bathroom is an entire complex to itself. Just the bathroom is larger than some other coffee shops I've been in here lately. A place like Today Coffee, it doesn't have the kind of atmosphere or personality that, say, Namaste Coffee has. But at the same time, if you're looking for comfort, air conditioning, a lot of space, and the ability to get work done, I noticed just as I was leaving, kind of the lunch crowd came in, and everybody was very young, and they all went straight to a table and started unpacking all of their fancy laptops and tablets and devices and plugging them into the convenient outlets, that are at each table so you can charge everything up. And they're sort of arraying all of their modern technology to get things done. And that's the kind of place it is. But, it's certainly a nice addition to my life. And it's, again, 3 blocks away from my guest house. So if I'm in the mood for an early morning chai, I've got Namaste coffee right there. And if I need to settle in and do some technology living, they got Today Coffee just down the street. A lot of those topics I wasn't planning on talking about at all. They just sort of popped into my head as I fired up the GoPro this morning. In fact, as I left my guest house, all I could think about was this pawn shop. And I'm right back at the sign. There's the sign for the pawn shop right in front of the Mae Sot police station. And the pawn shop, I know, is just up the street here. So it's sort of pointing, turn left, just up ahead. And as I said, I walked by this pawn shop on a number of occasions. I've glanced through the doors, but I've never gone inside. To be honest, when I looked through the door, it looked a little bit small, and it kind of looked like there were bars everywhere or something. So I wasn't sure. It didn't look like a wide open business welcoming me in, so I never went inside. But today I'm on a mission. Time to check out the pawn shop. I just remembered, in fact, that one of my first, maybe my very first bike that I used for touring, for long distance riding, I bought from a pawn shop in my hometown of Sarnia in Canada. Yeah, that's right. Forgot about that. I would often go into this pawn shop in Canada because I just like checking out all the odd things that people end up pawning. A lot of musical instruments, because I think people buy electric guitars and drum sets thinking they're going to study these instruments, and they never do. And then when they find they need money someday, one of the first things to go is that, electric guitar that they never use. They bring it to the pawn shop. And tools, a lot of tools, drill sets. I guess men can't help themselves and buy a lot of these tools, thinking they're going to work on their own car, or fix up their old Mustang, or fix up the house. And then maybe they don't do quite as much work with the tools as they thought. And when they need money, the tools go to the pawn shop. A lot of electronics, of course. Back in those days, a lot of VCRs. Oh, I remember buying movies at this pawn shop all the time because they always had a big collection of old VHS tapes. And I always had my eye open for any VHS copy of a movie that was like the director's cut or in letterbox, 2.35 to 1 aspect ratio, the original, the way the movie was meant to be experienced. Anything that had a director's commentary or behind the scenes footage. I love all that stuff. So I'd look for VHS tapes like that at these pawn shops. And as I said, that's where I bought my touring bicycle. And I ended up riding it across Canada. It didn't work that well because it wasn't designed for touring. And the wheels collapsed under the weight of the load. And I had to get all new spokes and rebuild the whole bike because it wasn't designed for touring. But it was a pretty nice bike. All right, Mystery Pawn Shop is just ahead. And there it is there. Is this a multi-level operation? I have no idea what I'm walking into. But yeah, there it is. I've never seen anyone go in or out. And as I said, when I glanced through the door, all I saw were these windows with bars and just didn't look very friendly or welcoming. So, oh, this is all you see, just a counter. And I guess this is where you arrange to sell your items. But where do you go to buy things that have been pawned? I have no idea what's going on in here. It looks very official, like very government-like. thought it would be a place where you could go shopping and buy things. If there is a storefront connected with this pawn shop, it's not here. Huh. Well, that's I mean, there's the sign, you know, right there, pawn shop, and it says welcome. Open from 8 to 4. But that's the extent of the place, unless there's another entrance around back. No, I don't imagine there's anything back there. So do they, everything that people pawn, is it stored upstairs? I don't know. So this is going to be a mystery. A bit of a letdown after all that discussion of this sign and what treasures I might find at the pawn shop. No treasures at all, just a series of unstaffed windows. Looks more like a bank than anything else. Oh well, what are you gonna do? I'll make up for that disappointment with a view of the canal system here in Mae Sot. And here's the canal, overgrown with these water lilies. And that's the dam water flow control center near my guest house. Never yet seen any activity here. Never seen the gate go down or go up. I guess there just hasn't been enough rain to ever require flood control. But there's always a security guard sitting there in a chair watching over the place. But no machinery ever seems to swing into action. And that takes me to the end of my small adventures for this morning, I think. As I said at the beginning, it is such a relief to be using the GoPro. Oh, it's just so nice. My friendly GoPro looking back at me instead of that giant Panasonic wearing out my arms and constantly going out of focus and bouncing around. Life is just better with a GoPro or a DJI Pocket 2 or any such lightweight camera. We vloggers don't need the highest quality video to... Ooh, look at this. This is a nice part of my morning. I wasn't expecting this. There's a chicken cooking barbecue place here that is here sometimes, but sometimes not. And it's very popular, so I see it show up. And if I don't buy something for lunch right away, it disappears. And here it is here. And I think I'm going to pick up some chicken for lunch today. And they have 2 pieces left. They reserved them for me. I'm all set. Check this out. 2 big pieces of chicken. It's sort of a combination chicken leg and chicken breast, each one. And I have 2 pieces plus 2 bags of delicious sticky rice. And that will be the base of my diet to keep me going for the next 2 days. That and a bunch of snacks. My landlady brought a bag of cucumbers yesterday that she grew in her own garden. She's turned into quite the gardener recently. She's always dropping off little vegetables for me. So I have sliced cucumbers to go with my chicken and rice today. And with that, I think that is the true end of this video. A happy ending to the day's adventures with some delicious chicken. And I'll see you in the next video. Here's something quite interesting. This is my landlady's new garden. And she grows just about everything back here. And she's very much a do-it-yourself kind of gardener. This is really quite something back here. You notice she built her own sun shelter. And I guess something is supposed to be growing underneath there at some point. But it looks like a bed frame. And she took the bed frame and put a bunch of blue, tubing, plumbing tubing, connected it together, and then put some old roofing tile there for a sunshade. And there you are. A perfect addition to her DIY garden.